We have an update on Tropical Storm Sara, and we have big changes heading into next week. Happy Friday, everyone. Let's take a look at the satellite picture for your November the 15th, and we've got a lot of nice, drier air across the middle part of the country. Most of your areas are waking up some really nice, pleasant, light condition and just enjoying that nice fall, crisp-like air. But we do have a low-pressure center off the coast of the Carolinas back into Virginia. That's ringing out some multiple inch rains this morning. But yes, further south, that just big blob of convection down there in the Caribbean, that is what's now Tropical Storm Sara, 45-mile-per-hour winds. And unfortunately, it's just hugging the coast down there just north of Honduras there and just dumping some torrential rains. You can see the path of the history of Sara. It formed just south of Kingston and it just continued westbound, right? I mean, it just continued westbound. Originally, it was supposed to get near Honduras, but push further north and spend more time over the open waters. Instead, it's continued westbound and now it's kind of hugging the coast. So the trajectory of the terrain to land is keeping it from intensifying. But unfortunately, it's dumping some torrential rains in Honduras area. The city of La Sella has already picked up 17 inches of rainfall, folks, at the airport. And you can see where it's at. It's not even there yet. So that's the concern. This is over a 12-hour period, each one of these little circles you hear. So yes, that is 48 hours, almost 72-hour time span we're talking about, that it just crawls over that area in a very mountainous terrain, producing devastating landslides and mudslides. So some of those areas could in fact pick up 30 inches of rainfall or more. Is definitely not out of the question, unfortunately. And that just continues over Belize, dumping more flooding. And then eventually by Monday, it will finally be over the Yucatan. But look, I mean, it spends pretty much the entire time near the coast or over land. So it's not going to be able to strengthen. In fact, the latest estimates are just, in fact, it's just going to lose all of its tropical characteristics altogether and just kind of dissipate over the Yucatan. But some of that moisture will start feeding back into the Gulf and actually combine with an upper level low that pushes further inland as well going into next week. So right now, it's fairly nice across the good part of the country. The only areas in town is really extreme portions of the East Coast, but that continues to shift out into the open waters. Of course, you got Sara, and then definitely it's cool out west with some snow into the higher elevations. But other than that, it's fairly nice. And most of you are, waking up to some cool, crisp, fall-like temperatures. This is your national air temperatures for this morning. And yeah, you've got 30s across the south. You've got 30s up here into Maine and the Northeast. You've got widespread. So it's just a very nice, pleasant, like cool fall-like air, what you would like to see this time of year, right? But as we heat it up in the afternoon, we definitely heat up quick, right? So you got cool at night and warmer during the day across the middle part of the country because it's dry, right? Dry air cools at night and it warms up quickly during the day. But we are going to be watching another pretty much significant trough that will be building again out west, reinforcing the colder air out west. And then we have more cold air building up here into Alaska. That's finally going to release its grip and pull further south and eventually get into the central and southeastern portions of the U.S. But before that happens, we've got some severe storms to talk about because you're still going to be in the warm sector by the time we head into Sunday. So you can see the cold air. That's the blue line. That's your freezing line in the afternoon, well up into Canada. So you got plenty of warmer air further south. You'll also have the moisture supply coming back. So you're going to be like 20 degrees warmer than you are across the south on Sunday than what you are actually this morning, as this new system, this new low pressure starts to dig and form and likely intensifies as you head into New Mexico, into West Texas. But overall, for the next 2 days, we're talking about some pretty dry conditions, not much precipitation happening across the lower 48. And where you see some of that green out west, that's just mainly all snow, and that's mainly higher elevation mountain snows. Further south, you're not going to be seeing any maize. So just enjoy the nice, pleasant like air that's going to be unfolding across for the next 2 days. But we are going to have some changes heading into originally on Sunday. with the moisture coming back into play. So yes, that is your higher dew points, the muggy air. It won't feel like fall like anymore. It's going to feel that muggy air mass across the south as that new upper level low will be approaching from the west. And as it overturns, some of those could turn severe with some larger hail, some damaging winds, and you can't even rule out if these actually in fact turn surface based, maybe an isolated tornado or two out in far west Texas. You could have some more snow flying again into the higher elevations, but the heavier rains would likely push into the panhandle, back into Oklahoma, and eventually this would swing further east. So by the time we head into Monday morning, you're likely going to get a squall line across north and central Texas, and then that will in the morning, and then likely push into Oklahoma and into areas of East Texas, into Arkansas, Louisiana in the afternoon, heading to Tuesday, and then that low pressure center will be lifting further north, spreading its rains into Kansas, into Nebraska, back into areas of Iowa, into Missouri, back into Illinois, and then going into Tuesday, that's when you'll have that low pressure center likely intensifying with the colder air coming in from the west. This would likely produce snow breaking out across the Dakotas, portions of Nebraska, and then that's all rain. So you'll have the remnants, or what's left over, the little bit of moisture that what's left over going into the Gulf of Sara, feeding into this upper level low. So that's going to push the heavier rains back into Louisiana, Mississippi, Western Tennessee, Western Kentucky, starting to get into Illinois, Indiana, those areas as we head into, say, Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, and then by Wednesday, that cold air will finally coming down from Alaska, going through British Columbia, sharing the cold air out west, and finally process up across the middle part of the country. So yes, in fact, this would be likely the coldest air mass of the season for those areas across the south. And that's not really saying much, right? We've had a very mild fall so far. So this is a nice break in the action of cooler airs, which you would typically like to see this time of year. But that's also going to bring in even stronger system heading into Wednesday. We're talking more snow across the middle part of the country, because we're going to have another short wave, right? We'll have another short wave come in. So areas of Colorado into New Mexico, the Texas Panhandle again, basically some of those areas that just got clocked last week with all that heavy snows could get more snow across the same region as it digs across the middle part of the country, and that will continue to shift northeast as well. So you'll have the rain on the south side with the remnants of Sara on Tuesday afternoon, pushing through, Alabama by then, into Georgia, back into areas of eastern Tennessee. You'll have that low pressure center form across the panhandle, and then the low will bring the snow with the higher winds across the northern plains into the Dakotas, through areas of portions of Nebraska. And then by Thursday, we'll have yet that low pressure center will start to deepen again over the Ohio Valley. So yeah, that's a 978 millibar, folks. That's a fairly significant, huge system up there. And that could have enough cold core too to produce some snow in areas of Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, back into West Virginia. Even portions of Pennsylvania could see some snow start to fly heading into Thursday of next week, as that low pressure center will start to wrap itself around. So the good thing is eventually that will actually bring beneficial rains to some of those areas across the Northeast where they're just begging for rain, areas of Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire, those areas across the eastern seaboard. Definitely some beneficial rains, and then the colder side of the storm out west. So I think you still remain pretty, on the warmer side for a good part of New England. It's just the colder side stays further off to your west into the Ohio Valley, while much of the rest of the country it just experiences that nice cooler air that will be coming in on the backside once we have this system pull through. So there is the remnants of what's ringing out with that potential snow that's going to break out across this region during the day, Thursday and Friday. So the blend of guidance kind of looks like this, right? So you have the Intermountain West snows. This is your model blend through Thursday and Friday of next week. So we'll have that first system come through on a Sunday and Monday. And then we'll have that second system comes through on Tuesday and Wednesday across the middle part of the country. And then we'll have this other system come through across the Ohio Valley, likely dumping some first snowfall of the season across this region through areas of Ohio back into West Virginia. But overall, what it looks like is much below average temperatures for areas across the central and southeastern portions of the US. So definitely the cooler air comes in on Wednesday and will likely stay around Wednesday, Thursday, Friday into the weekend of coming up for next week. And that could even extend into early next week across the southeast. So we're going to have an extended cool down across the middle part, the central and southern plains, the southeast, while much of the northeast likely stays on the above average side. And for those areas across the west where you have been cooler pretty much all November, finally warms up for them, and they're going to be sharing that colder air for those areas across the central and the southeast. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch the next update. Wire protect you before and after storm.